Hi there, welcome back to The Money Show. Thanks so much for staying tuned to ET Now. Now, there are a plethora of funds available in the market to invest your hard-earned money in. But how do you assess which is the right fund for your portfolio? What are the criteria that one should look like? To help you navigate through this maze, we have Hemant Rustagi of Wiseinvest Private Limited joining us. Also, once again, viewers, do not forget to send us your portfolio queries on our WhatsApp number 865-797-4571 or email us your queries on themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Hi Hemant, thanks so much. Welcome back to the show. Always great to have you. And well, today the first query for you is coming from our viewer Bala from Coimbatore. He has a portfolio of 2.5 lakh rupees. His portfolio has been shared with you and is also flashing on the screen. Now, he says that he's planning to continue for the next 17 years to accumulate 3 crore rupees. How much should he step up every year to reach that 3 crore goal? Should he also add a large cap or a large and mid cap to his portfolio to achieve this goal? And what are your suggestions if he needs to change his current funds at all?
Well, I think the most important aspect here is that his time horizon of 17 years. So obviously, when you're investing for such a long time, it's important to choose the right asset class and also choose the right combination of funds so that you can get the best out of that asset class. In this case, the investment which is being done through SIP is 23,000. And if he continues this process for 17 years, and if I assume annualized return of 12%, I think he should be able to achieve a corpus of around 1.6 crore. But considering that his target is 3 crore, obviously he needs to increase his SIP. If he's able to step up his SIP by 10% every year from here on, I think he should be able to achieve his target. So I think it's going to be a very disciplined approach from here on, continue this process for 17 years and be disciplined to increase SIP amount every year by 10%. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I think the composition of the portfolio is very, very important. If you look at the current composition of the portfolio, there are 7 funds here. I think there is a scope to kind of realign the portfolio and maybe consolidate it. So there are 2 index funds here. One is UTI Nifty 50. The other one is UTI Nifty Next 50, wherein in all he's investing 9,500 rupees. So if I combine these two, he's actually investing in the entire universe of large cap. So I think he can continue with that. Then there is a mid cap fund, which is Motilal Oswal Mid Cap. I think which is perhaps the best mid cap fund in the industry. He's investing 3,000. He can continue with that. When you're investing for 17 years, it makes sense to have a small cap fund. Tata Small Cap is there, where he's investing 2,000. You can continue with that. There is also a US Motilal Oswal US Equity Fund, where he's investing 2,000. Again, I think from diversification point of view, especially when you're talking about geographical diversification, I think it's good to have a fund which is investing in US market. There are 2 more funds. One is a Flexi Cap fund, Edelweiss Flexi Cap, and then there is Motilal Oswal Multi Cap. I believe that these 2 can be combined. So the money that is being invested in Edelweiss Flexi Cap 4,000, that can be clubbed with Motilal Oswal Multi Cap, wherein he can invest 6,500. So some realignment in the portfolio. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, he needs to increase his SIP amount by 10%.
Hemant, sounds good, but well, that was the first query coming in. Hemant, we have 2 more queries for you on the show today. The next one is coming in from our viewer Abhishek Khushwaha, and his portfolio has been shared with you, also up on the screen. His monthly SIP amount is 1,07,550 rupees to be precise. He's planning to increase the SIP amount by 15% from the upcoming month. Now, he has a long-term investment horizon and can stomach volatility is what he's saying. And considering his horizon, he's open to taking a more aggressive approach as well. So a bunch of queries is what he has asked. Should he allocate more to mid-cap and small-cap funds to maximize long-term growth? Or do you suggest any changes to his small-cap funds currently in the portfolio? Do you believe any of his funds are underperforming which he should replace? And do you have any suggestions for funds or asset allocation to better align with the suggested aggressive approach that he has?
Well, I think if I look at the strategy that he's adopted, his time horizon is 20 years. And he's also committed to increase SIP amount, which I think is very, very important, because anyone who is investing in a disciplined manner and is also committed to increase SIP amount, maybe at regular intervals, I think can accumulate a much larger corpus than someone who is investing a fixed amount through the time horizon. So I think in terms of strategy, he's doing very well. If I look at the composition of the portfolio, if I look at the exposure to the large cap, which is almost around 50,000, 55,000 out of 1,07,000. I think it's good to have a bias towards the large cap in the long run, specifically if you're not an investor who is managing portfolio very actively. But I think there can be different ways of having exposure to large cap. So he has an index fund. He can continue with that. That there is ICICI Blue Chip Fund. I believe that there is a scope for him, and which he is also asked that whether he should increase his allocation to mid cap and small cap. I think there is a scope there to do it in a different manner. So instead of ICICI Blue Chip, you can look at ICICI large and mid cap, which invest 35% minimum in large and mid, and the remaining at the discretion of the fund manager. So that's a first change. And then there is also HDFC Balance Advantage. Look, for this kind of time horizon, even though I would say that Balance Advantage is a great category to have, but for someone who's investing for such a long period, I don't think Balance Advantage is the right category. There, you can look at HDFC large and mid cap. So it will allow him to kind of retain his exposure to large cap and also increase allocation to mid cap. You can look at that. And then there is a flexi cap fund, bond flexi cap. I think there he can think of having a multi-cap fund, which is Kotak multi-cap, which is one of the best multi-cap fund in the industry here. So if you look at small cap, there is excess small cap. I believe that there are better funds than that. For example, Bandhan small cap can be considered for this 11,000, which is being invested here. Then there are two funds. One is Mahindra Manulife small cap fund, and also Motilal Oswal micro cap. I believe that Motilal Oswal multi cap can be a better option. So you can club money which is being invested in these two funds, and investing on these two, he can look at Motilal Oswal multi-cap fund, wherein he can invest around 16,000 rupees. So there is a scope for him to realign his portfolio. And of course, as I said earlier, he needs to maintain this discipline of increasing his SIP through the period.
Hemant, thanks for that query coming in. It's a very detailed explanation. Abhishek, I hope your query has been answered. But Hemant, we have another query coming in from the same viewer, Abhishek Kushwaha. He's also asked that we've shared his portfolio with you for this query, and he's asking that his siblings and he have decided to build a retirement corpus for their parents. Now, the parents are currently aged 49 and 51 years. They aim to accumulate a corpus of 1.5 to 2 crore rupees over the next 10 to 12 years via the SIP route by 50,000 rupees per month. This is his investment budget, and the investment horizon is for 10 to 12 years. The objective is to create a diversified portfolio that balances growth as well as stability, considering the age of their parents and risk tolerance. Now, are the funds that he has selected appropriate for achieving this target corpus with moderate risk, or do you recommend any alternative funds or asset classes to diversify and further reduce the risk? And also, it's a very interesting query coming in: is it advisable for different members of the family to invest in the same funds? What are your views on this?
I think the important aspect is the goal for which this portfolio has been created, which is retirement planning for his parents. Obviously, this is an important goal, so it's important. And he also mentioned about growth and stability. Of course, the growth will come from exposure to equity, and the stability will come from the disciplined approach that is intending to kind of follow by investing through SIP. So I believe that in terms of strategy, he's doing all right. The time horizon is 10 to 12 years. The targeted corpus is around 1.5 to 2 crore. So with this investment of 50,000, if that process is continued for the next 12 years, the expected corpus at an assumed annualized return of 12% would be around 1.5 crore. So I think they should be able to achieve the target of 1.5 crore. If indeed the target is 2 crore, then obviously the SIP will have to be increased by another 12,000 rupees. It's equally important to ensure that you have the right portfolio. So if I look at the composition of the portfolio here, I think it's done a wonderful job. Even the funds that have been selected are like the top of the chart in terms of both consistency in performance and philosophy. There is Nippon Large Cap Fund, Motilal Oswal Mid Cap, Bandhan Small Cap, Kotak Multi Cap, and Palakari Flexi Cap, which also gives them some exposure to US market. So I don't think he needs to do anything with this portfolio. Another question that he asked is whether different family members can invest in the same fund. Of course you can. If it's a quality fund, let's not forget that you're not looking at one investment. You need to look at the underlying. The underlying is the stock's portfolio. So if a fund has a good portfolio, well-diversified portfolio, spread across different sectors and different market caps, why not? Yes, of course, more than one family member can invest in one fund. There's no issue with that.
Okay, Hemant, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Abhishek, I hope that answers all your queries. And Hemant, once again, big thank you for joining us, breaking down all of these queries and taking our viewers through a detailed process of what their ideal portfolio could look like. But viewers, on that note, I'm afraid we're completely timed out on this edition of The Money Show. We'll wrap it up here, but thanks so much for watching.